Welcome to Advent of Refactoring Day 8. Today we're going to be looking at splitting classes or things apart into separate pieces and how to connect them together. So we have this event report generator class here, which takes some events and filters them, does some maths on them, creates a bunch of rows of data for them, and then finally at the end it sort of writes all of that data as a CSV file into a string and sort of returns that content so that it can be displayed either on the website somewhere or as a download or saved as a report or sent by email or whatever it's being used for. On the site, maybe we're going to have lots of different types of reports. So we think, oh, maybe we could reuse this function here. So how could we do that? So one possibility would be to just sort of haul this out into a completely separate function altogether. So like just remove the indentation and then pass in like a list of headers and row data, have that stuff there as the headers, and then this stuff here as the row data. You know, that would be a great way to refactor it, and then that would actually be fine. I'd be totally happy with that. But there's a pattern I've seen a few places on different things, is people try to make it abstract as part of the class. I'll show you what that refactoring would look like, and then explain some of the problems with it and ways to not do that. So we've got this field names here. We'll just rename this as field names and self.field names, and then sort of take that list of things there and sort of shunt it right up to the very top of the class as a class attribute there. So we've now got field names as a sort of list of things. So that's not being hard coded into this anymore, which is great. That's a good win. And the final create CSV output string thing here, this external event details is a bit specific to just this event report. So maybe what we could do is, if we were to rename this to be row data list, say, go with that. So now it's a very generic name. It's been updated to all the places, so we're adding all of the things. This function now then doesn't have anything really that it needs to do with events. It could be very separate. So let's grab that here. We'll just move it to the very top of the function, just so we can see it here. There we go. So it's right at the top. It's not connected to anything else. We don't want to put functions at the top like that. It's just the wrong order for things. But we could bring that back to here. Put this in its separate own little class here. Should we call it class CSV report maker, which indent that properly, and we'll say that field names is a list of dict. So the current syntax, yeah, that looks about right. So this is the shape of the thing that it should be. And then we could say the event report generator is going to be one of these CSV report maker types, which means that now this class automatically gets this one here. So, and we've overwritten the field names specifically for this thing. It means we could then do other types of reports as well. So we could have class event staff report generator, so of a CSV report maker type. It might have a totally different set of field names. Field names equals name, date of birth, and I don't know, rank, say. And then this class would then also be able to use this same function. And this is reusing stuff, it's making the appropriate pieces generic, and I think there's nothing wrong with this type of refactoring in its place, but it's not necessary to have these class trees like this. The specific time I've seen it when I didn't think it was a good idea is on a project where we had all of the external API functions all as a separate class, and then we were using it as a mix-in. So as a class that we were mixing into lots of different places. So we had it attached to a form as a mix-in, so then that form could do a bunch of stuff related to the external API. And we also had it attached to some views and some form pages and other different places. And it was kind of confusing because you didn't know if it was going to muck about and break stuff with the init or other things like that. If we added something to the init here to sort of prepare some of the data, that might not ever get called here if we forget to run the super of it. So rather than using it as a mix-in or as a super class like this, instead what we could do is, let's get rid of that as well, we don't need that. Instead what we could do with this thing is to attach it as a object within the class. So we can say self.csv maker equals CSV report maker, and self.csv maker dot field names equals self.field names. So we've now attached it as an object inside this one. So it's not a this isn't a subclass of it. It owns it. We're composing it inside this other class rather than trying to build a class hierarchy to hold all of this stuff. It does then mean that we don't have this create CSV output function directly available for us anymore. So if we needed that to work in exactly the same way, just say self.csvmaker dot create output string. What's the key press there? So return that. So we've created a wrapper for it, for whichever bits of it we need, and the whole thing is held in place that way. And you could be a bit lazier as well if you wanted. You could even take those things there and put them inside that one function if you wanted to, because it's not used any other place. So this is not exactly a refactoring, but it's showing how you can do some refactorings into different classes, splitting classes apart, and also talking about why it's sometimes not a great idea to use lots of subclasses and building class hierarchies, but instead to use this composition over the inheritance as a way to keep your different pieces of things clean. This could be something we could do more in JavaScript, in some of our maps work, is to capture all of the complex map setup stuff into a single class or single function, and then just include it specifically as an interface where we need it to be later on in our actual code. Thanks for listening.